Hi friends, it's Lisa Hetrick, illustrator for Gina K Designs, and I'm so grateful you could join me today. I have a really fun card project to share with you today that was requested by you. And it's all about making wonky wreaths for our card projects. So come on in, let's get started. We're gonna make this super fun card and I can't wait to show it to you. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and dive in and take a quick look at the supplies. Now, all of the supplies will be listed below in the description. I have some Gina K Designs layering white cardstock. I have this blue raspberry cardstock from Gina K Designs cut to an A2 size card. All the measurements will be down below in the description. I have some tools here. I have my stamp blocks. I have some scissors, some Gina K Designs glue, a little lid so that I can make a circle. I have some foam tape. I also have some sequins and embellishments from Gina K Designs along with a pencil. And these are just some simple tools and some embellishments. You see there's a hole in my bag here. So I've got them in that little container. So here are the Gina K Designs inks that I'm going to be using as well. I have Passionate Pink and I have Innocent Pink because we want our flowers to work from light to dark. So I've got these two colors that I'm going to be working with. Love the pinks. I have Tangerine Twist here and Lucky Clover. So here is my orange and a really super bright green that we're going to be using for some of the leafery. I've got Wild Dandelion here because, Wild Dandelion. And I use it all the time and I love it. It's gorgeous yellow. And I've got Obsidian here for my sentiment. And the stamp sets that I'm going to be using, I have two stamp sets here. I have the Always Delightful stamp set from my Gina K Designs release. We're going to be using some of the leafery, the greenery, the flowers, and I have the Stained Glass Flowers stamp set from Gina K Designs as well. And I love that sentiment from that set, and we're going to use that. I also have the companion dies for the Always Delightful. So let's go ahead and get started with the die cutting for this project. So I'm going to ink up all of the floral images, the medium brushstroke floral and the two smaller brushstroke florals, and prepare them for die cutting. So I used the Passionate Pink and I'm also using the Innocent Pink for these three florals. And I'm just going to go ahead and line up the companion dies for these images and run them through my die cutter. So you're going to see me just kind of flip around and just get them lined up and ready to go so that I can prepare them for my die cutter. I use the Platinum 6, so you can use any die cutter that you love to use. So I'm running them through the die cutter, and here they are. They're just our cute little embellishments that we're going to use. And I've just prepared them ahead of time for the end of the assembly of the card. Okay, so now we're going to prepare the wreath shape, and I'm using the lid of a mason jar that I just had in my kitchen. You can use anything that will help you create just a circle in a pencil, using a pencil. And I'm just going to use this as my shape just to start to line things up. Now, you could use the wreath builder if you want this wreath to be a little bit more symmetrical. I'm going for wonky here, so I'm going to walk you through that. I've taken the large brushstroke floral and I've just kind of lined it up and stamped it out with some Innocent Pink. And then I'm going to go ahead and start to stamp all of the wonky wreathy bits around that shape. So that brushstroke floral was my grounding shape to just get me going to begin to create this wonky floral. Now I've taken one of the leafery bits that has the little berries and I'm going to stamp that 3 times around the shape. I'm using the circle that I have just put down in pencil just as my guide. You can it's just a guide. I'm not using it exact. And I've made a little booger here. So I'm going to go ahead and use my mono eraser to get that little extra bit of ink off the center. I'm not really worried about it because I'm going to end up covering a lot of that area up with the sentiment and some other wreathery. I just made a new word. Wreath
and leafery kind of imagery. I'm going to go ahead and take the little brushstroke floral. I'm going to ink it up in some of this Tangerine Twist and just go ahead and stamp that out 3 times around the floral wreath. So I've talked about this in other tutorials, stamping items out in an order of 3s to help create balance, and I'm doing that again in this design. So I'm just kind of taking the stamp, and I want to show you something here. This stamp kind of goes straight up and down, and you can see I'm holding the bottom, and then I'm just moving it out and then positioning it on the block so that there's a bit of a more of an arc in the stamp instead of it being straight. So you can see that I'm playing with that shape at the bottom so that I can get that arc feel with that piece of greenery there. And that's going to help me kind of line up my stamps a little bit around the wreath. And it's also giving you an opportunity to manipulate the shape of the stamp. So you don't always have to use the stamp exactly the way it is, straight up and down or whatever shape it is. Because we're using photopolymer stamps here, you can manipulate the shape and create arcs, you can create circles, you can create all kinds of shapes with one stamp. Now, I'm using the same stamp and I've stamped it 3 times, and right here, I just took my finger and took the ink off that very bottom of the stamp and just stamped it down. So I'm starting to begin to create the wonkiness in this shape. You can see that it's out of symmetry. It's not a complete circle. That flower grounds it in that lower right-hand corner, but I'm breaking the shape a little bit by starting to add some of the greenery elements out of the outer circle and the inner circle. So I'm going to continue to do this and go all the way around. Now I'm using some jelly bean green and another stamp in the set that has some leafery with it. And I'm just kind of playing around with this, and I'm going to show you this shape. So I want to bend this stamp a little bit to get a little bit more of an arc in the shape. So I'm going to stamp that out and you can see it. And this is going to help me just kind of line up with the images that I've already stamped out and get that arc kind of shape without having to work too hard to manipulate how I'm stamping it. So I've already just kind of positioned it on my block so that I can get that arc in there. And I'm just digging it. Now we've got leafery, kind of whimsical leafery flying about all around this circle here. So you can see that the shape is starting to get kind of wonky and not super circular. And that's what I really like about this technique. It covers a lot of space, a lot of real estate on the card front, but it also gives you opportunity to just kind of play around with the shapes that you have and the stamps that you have and create different looks. So I'm playing around here with this open line stamp and just kind of extending it out even more to create a little bit more of an explosion of leafery here. We still have this wreath look and feel, but it's really super wonky. It's wild and whimsical. Okay, so I'm going to assemble the card and we're going to add the sentiment now. So I've added a little bit of Gina K Designs glue to the back. And I'm going to adhere this to the blue raspberry cardstock. Now, it's an interesting choice, the blue raspberry up against all of these colors, but I'm digging it. And I tend to pick off colors anyway for my card bases. So I've inked up this sentiment, our friendship is magic. And I love the sentiment. And I love how that G just kind of nests right into that brush stroke floral. And it just makes that connection between the sentiment and the floral. So it's just kind of grounding it right there in the center of my wreath. Now I'm going to go ahead and attach my brushstroke embellishments and just kind of complete and finish off the card here. And I have 3 embellishments. So these 3 embellishments are matching up with the 3 tangerine twist embellishments. So we end up with 6 flowers on here to just kind of balance out the design and the flowers. You could put as many flowers as you want, but I just tend to think in threes, and that's how my card designs always end up. So I'm just going to go ahead and look at how wonky that is. So when I ran it through the die cutter, it moved a little bit and it wasn't exactly lined up. And actually, all of my cards end up that way, and I just love it. Love all the wonkiness. Okay, so I'm going to add the finishing touches here. I've pulled 3 of these cute little hearts that are in orange from the embellishments, the Gina K embellishments. And I'm just going to nest them again around the wreath, and just to create a little bit more contrast and just a little more texture. I always like the stamps to be the star of the show, and if you followed me for a while, you hear me say that all the time. But I do like to add a little embellishment if I feel like it's going to just give the card a little extra something. And these cute little hearts match up with that sentiment really well. And I just love it. So our friendship is magic. I'm loving the way this looks. Now, in the stamp set, you also have a stamp where you can do the center of the flowers. And you can see where I did that over here on the right with the inspiration. But I decided I didn't want to do that this time. I've got that orange going out there in the flowers, the little flowers, and I thought it was just enough that I wanted to leave that center floral just kind of open with that white space. I'm digging this card. I love wonky wreaths, and I love symmetrical wreaths and using the wreath builder and the new wreath builder templates as well. And I'll be sharing those templates in some upcoming fall tutorials that I can't wait to share with you. Okay, so for this stamp set, I do have a free card idea download. The link is in the description. You can also find all of the card idea downloads on my website at indigojadeart.com/craftyourjoy. You can see that I have a little mistake on this one, but it is corrected on the download. So just kind of funny when you go to film things and yeah, you have little discoveries. But this is a super fun card idea download. It's absolutely free to you, and I do create one of these with all of my stamp set, mostly all of my stamp sets, to give you some ideas to jumpstart you into creating. Thanks so much for watching. Please consider sharing the joy by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. And I'm sharing more card and watercolor tutorial videos for your inspiration right here. So come on in and take a peek at my tutorials. I have a lot to share, and I'll see you next time.